Hello and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for the Expanse Season 5, Episode 4, Gaugamela. This video is part of a series of videos where I review episodes of the Expanse, so I have to start with a spoiler warning for the Expanse up to Season 5. Episode 4, if you have not seen up to this point, you will not want to watch this video, otherwise some things will be spoiled for you. So, wow. What can I say about that episode? But it took me a little while, a few minutes to recover from what it was I just watched. And I had to watch it again to be sure. And goddamn. Now, of course, I've read the book, so I kind of knew that was coming. But it was still... didn't really prepare me for the shock and the power of actually seeing it play out on screen. Absolutely blew me away. Absolutely amazing. Not only was it super suspenseful, intense, dare I say scary, but also there's really great character moments in it as well. Now, I've heard some people who were a bit iffy on the first 3 episodes of Season 5 saying that it was maybe moved a bit too slowly and was basically all just set up, but you absolutely needed that setup. And this episode just plows right in. It is relentless, is a good word for it. and so you needed that setup in order for this episode to work, and it works so well and is so breathtakingly powerful because of that great setup. So far, I gotta say, this season has been structured really nicely, much better than Season 4. And especially much better than Season 3, which pacing was off. But, yeah, that's, what else can I say? Now, let me start getting to the storylines. Let's start with the first scene with Alex and Bobby. Now, this, of course, was probably the slower of the scenes of the episode, as it was mainly just dialogue based, where Bobby and Alex are on the Razorback, and I think I mentioned before how much I love the Razorback. Anyway, they're on the Razorback heading to follow the Martian ships that are going out to sell black market Martian military grade technology to the Belters. And Alex is still in shock that it's not just one person or one ship, it's like a whole bunch of ships. And he's still in shock on how the Martian military that he served and devoted his life for has now sort of degraded and betrayed them. And he's a bit perplexed and maybe a little bit upset on how it doesn't seem to bother Bobby, and that when he asks her how she can be so nonchalant about it, and she tells the story of a pet rat she had, and how when the pet rat died, she cried and cried and cried, but eventually she said she just couldn't grieve anymore, which basically describes how she feels about Mars, that she already went through what Alex is going through now. And there comes a point where she just can't grieve anymore and has to just move on and do what she can to make it right. And tells Alex that he needs to do the same, that he needs to focus on doing what they can in order to make it right. And I love that scene. I thought it was very powerful. And again, this is what I'm talking about great character stories. You had that great character interaction between Bobby and Alex. And I dare say it's the best we got all season. And of course, it's sort of setting the stage for for their little adventure. Now, while they're out there, though, they get the news report that the asteroid hit Earth, which was the big shocking reveal at the end of the previous episode, but also that at the same time there was a bombing on the Martian Parliament. Now, this was a line of dialogue that kind of glossed over, and I think a lot of people may have missed it. I'm hoping that the next couple episodes will get into more detail about this and explore this more, but it wasn't just Earth that Marco Naros attacked. He also attacked Mars, and it was going after their leadership, which was interesting. So then we go with Amos. We get a follow-up on in episode 2. He had called Avasarala, said he wanted to see one person before he left Earth because he's never coming back, and he needed her help to see that person. And we see him entering a penitentiary and going below ground, and so we see that the person that he wants to visit is in fact Clarissa Mao. Now this is straight out of the book, and they set up for this in season 4. I mean, I complained about it in season 4 because they really should have set up for this in season 3 when Clarissa Mao was actually, on the show. But they tried to, at the start of season 4, they tried to retroactively say that, Amos and Clarissa had a little relationship during the time she was on the Rosnate. So, of course, I didn't want to say anything at the time because I didn't want to spoil anything, but I knew when I saw that scene that they were setting up for setting the stage for this scene here, or this storyline here with Amos and Clarissa. And I actually really liked the scene. I thought it worked actually much better than it did in the books, because in the books it did seem kind of out of nowhere that he went to visit Clarissa, and there didn't really seem to be that much of a purpose to his visit. But here, the dialogue is actually much sharper and a bit more personal, where it gets into how he can relate personally to Clarissa, which is definitely poignant after what we saw Amos went through in the previous episode, grieving over the loss of the woman who raised her, and how he kind of can relate to Clarissa, that they also did a lot of things that they regretted, but unlike him, Clarissa didn't have that guidance of Lydia to help her. In fact, I kind of think when he said he had someone to guide me, I kind of at first thought Holden, but then I thought maybe, no, it wasn't Holden, he was actually talking about Lydia, but maybe he was talking about both in a way. I'm not sure. And that he realized in that moment, as he was talking to her, that he wanted to help her. But of course, she scoffs at him and says that he can't help her, that no one can help her, that it's too late for her. As we see, she's being held in the penitentiary. Apparently, that's 4 people with the military modifications. As we saw in season 3, she had these black market modifications where if she used her tongue to turn her tooth, she'd operate these drugs that made her super fast and agile, and much like a super soldier type fighter, but it only lasted for a few minutes, and then it would make her nauseous and sick. And so apparently everyone in this penitentiary has some sort of mod similar to that. But she's on blockers to try to block the meds, but apparently it's too dangerous to have them removed entirely. And so she is living a very uncomfortable life on these blockers. And and apparently is not loving life very much. But Amos, he feels for her, even though, which is, ironic, of course, because she did try to kill him at one stage. She literally tried to frame Holden and was actually quite successful for a while for blowing up a ship of innocent people, and beat the shit out of Naomi and almost killed her. Almost destroyed the Rosnate, which Amos was on. Yet he's willing to forgive her. I mean, she did, of course, also help Holden save humanity and open the ring gates. He sees in her like the person that he used to be, how he was a cold-blooded killer and did a lot of things. And yeah, he found redemption, I think, because he sees that same potential for redemption in her because of what she did to help Holden shut down the ring and save humanity, and thinks that he feels that, I think, on a subconscious level, that he can help her. But while he's down there visiting her, we hear these alarms goes off, and he's like, "What's that?" She's like, "Lockdown." He's like, "Why is this happening?" She's like, "I don't know." And then impact. We hear the whole thing impact. We hear the ceiling crack above them, and we don't follow up with him in this episode, so we're going to have to wait till the next episode to see what happens to them in particular. But we see from above that yet another asteroid had hit the Earth. This one was closer to their position. It was off the coast of Philadelphia. And yeah, so that did a lot of damage, and Avasarala was freaking the hell out and trying to, before the second asteroid hit, in fact, she was trying to warn people that it was not an accident, that it was an attack. Everyone else was a bit shocked. Oh, how could this happen? And so we see that Nancy Gal's administration, all of her cabinet and advisors and everything, are blackballing Avasarala and her General Galdado, which is rather stupid of them. I think it's a little bit ridiculous that they were blackballing them so hard, and so. But anyway, Avasarala has to try to get a message through to Nancy Gal because she has hard evidence that Marco Inaros is behind it, and that he's equipped the asteroids with stealth technology, but no one will listen to her, so she has to call the chef on board the UN-1 in order to sneak in the little hand terminal with Avasarala on so he can talk. And I like how when she's like, "Oh, Nancy, you gotta listen to me," the aide, his first instinct was to grab it. I was like, "God damn it, how'd she get in here and grab it and turn it off?" I think that is kind of plot convenience, is a bit extreme. I mean, what did she do to get blackballed so goddamn hard? And what was stopping Avasarala from sending any of these people, even like maybe any army generals or leaders in the army, sending them a text message with, "Hey, Marco Inaros has put stealth technology on these asteroids." But anyway, it's kind of more dramatic this way, I guess. But whatever, I'm willing to go with it because it was a really cool scene. And to Nancy Gal's credit, because I really bashed her in the previous episodes because she was being very standoffish to Avasarala. But of course, in this episode, her cabinet, her staff is being that still just as standoffish. But come on, I mean, Avasarala is still technically a part of her administration. She still works for them, so they should at least, like, one person should at least listen to her. But anyway, Nancy Gal, as soon as Avasarala brings it up, does have the wisdom, to her credit, to listen to Avasarala and take her at her word, even when that her staffer still didn't want to listen to Avasarala. But Nancy Gal was smart enough to know that Avasarala does have some worth and does trust her when she says that she has hard evidence that Marco is behind it, and because she knows she wants to do what's best, like for the people. That in the previous episode she was letting her ego get away and not listening to Avasarala when she had hard evidence. But after those first two attacks, that kind of brought it around. That made her believe that it was in fact urgent. So when it came down to it, she was willing to put her personal feelings aside in order to do what's best for Earth. And Avasarala was as well. She was also willing to work with Gal, put her own personal feelings aside to do what's best for Earth. As they both said, that's all that matters. But then, everything looks great. They're all willing, friends again, all willing to work together to stop the asteroids. But then a third asteroid hits, and this one really close to Gal's position, and she and everyone on board is killed. Wah, wah, wah. So that was pretty much a striking blow to the UN leadership, as we later learned that most of the people in power and position were on that plane. So they don't even know who's next in line for power. It's going to be Avasarala. That's pretty obvious. She's our main character. Come on. But anyway, so it's completely crippled the power structure of Earth. Now, here's the thing. I think maybe if I had one minor complaint about this episode, it's that it didn't really get into the severity. I mean, it kind of did, but not really. Not enough, in my opinion. The severity of the damage that these asteroid impacts have, because there's 3 now, and they were quite large. They're quite sizable asteroids, and if you know anything about, if you read any books about this or watched any videos about this, that large of an asteroid, one of them hitting the Earth, is an extinction level event. 3 of them just hit the Earth. So I think maybe this episode didn't really emphasize just how apocalyptic this is. I have a feeling, though, that the next couple episodes will get into more detail about this, but it's not like a minor attack that just harms people in that area. We're talking about 3 extinction level events. So, yeah. I think they will get into this detail. It's basically the apocalypse is here. Basically, which hopefully they will get into more detail about that in the coming episodes. So it's a huge fucking deal. And but they do manage to get their shit together and finally have the watchtower that's capable of detecting stealth technology and combining that with the asteroid spotter in order to take down the next asteroid that's sent at Earth. So at least they didn't have a 4th one hit the Earth, but the damage is still already done. And I think they did a good job portraying, showing in Luna how just in shock everyone is that this happened and that no one can believe it. I mean, we saw in the previous episode when Delgado asked the scientists, what would happen if an asteroid hit Earth, and his response was, that's impossible, it's not going to happen. Now we have 3 asteroids that hit Earth. Yeah, but they got this shit together, but it's kind of that, like the saying goes, it's too little too late. Even Delgado is aware that he realizes that he didn't put up enough of a fight to warn them. And in fact, we saw in the previous episode when Avasarala was pushing him, you got to do whatever you can to get to them to listen. He's like, no, that's it, I had enough. And part of that, I think, was because he wasn't really a true believer. I mean, I think he believed Avasarala to an extent, but not fully. And I didn't think he was aware until this moment just how much he should have worked. And I like how, Avasarala didn't say, oh, no, you're okay, you did all you could. She was silent. He points that out. He's like, thank you for not disagreeing with me, which is nice. But Avasarala's response is the correct one, where she says, there's still work to do. So rather than focusing on dwelling on the past, she's like, she knows that she needs his help in the here and now to do what they can to deal with the situation as it is. So that was great. That was really powerful. So yeah, we'll see where that goes from there. Now over on Taiko Station, this shit really went down and got intense here, as we knew that they were setting up for a sting operation because the ship was coming to retrieve Monica Stewart in the container. So Bull and his people were hiding in a container and ready to spring a trap on them. But a lot of things sound a bit fishy when the ship approaches. So Holden starts to realize that they've been warned that they're walking into a trap. So he warns Bull and his men to get out of there, and they do just in time as missiles destroy the container that they were in. But another coordinated attack happens as we find out that Sokai, yeah, that's her name. The woman who is a really friendly engineer who is helping out Naomi with the repairs of the Rosinante and being all chatty and friendly with her. She's a freaking spy. And she shoots Fred Johnson 3 times and runs off to coordinated attack to steal the proto-molecule. And so, god damn it. So Holden goes to stop her, and of course Monica Stewart's in the room, and they try to take her captive, but Holden shows up, and he tries to stop this weird fucking spider, like mechanical spider-esque thingy that looked like really badass. Just barges in and goes straight to like damaging, like knocking down the floor to get to the protomolecule sample, and Holden does whatever he can to stop it, and he shoots it doesn't do anything, then he like stabs it with something, and it looks like that the machine powered down, that it shuts down. It looks like Holden was successful in stopping it, but then it's I think the best way to describe what happens next is that mechanical spider thingy bitch slaps Holden just out of nowhere. It's like poof, knocks him out, and then runs off with the protomolecule, and Sokai presses the button that helps it escape, and it blasts off into space, leaving the vacuum open in Fred Johnson's quarters, but Monica Stewart drags Holden to safety. And then they have Sokai in custody, but she's all gloating, saying, your protomolecule's gone now, bye-bye. God damn it, she's so annoying. Of course, as soon as I realized what character this was representing in the books, even though this character it was a male in the books, that's what clued me in, like, she's the one. She's the spy. So this one I did see coming, from the books, but yeah. So I was watching that whole scene when they were like attempting the thing. I was just watching her because I knew that she was gonna do something, but when she shot Fred Johnson, I was like, holy fuck. So speaking of which, Fred Johnson dies. The shots didn't save him. I mean, Holden tried to save him by getting him the gravity, but it wasn't good enough. He was shot so many times that he, in fact, died. And Holden says that he wished, because he had a vision for the belt. He had a vision to strengthen the belt, and he's like, I wish he could have seen his vision through. So, powerful scene. And again, bringing up the B word, Fred Johnson doesn't die at this point. He dies later in the next book. However, I had predicted in a video I did for my season 5 predictions, I predicted that he would die this season, that they would bring his death forward. And I think part of that is it does seem like the actor who plays Johnson, who barely appeared the past couple of seasons, that I think maybe he wouldn't want to do the show for as long, and so that they would kill him. Now, I don't know if that is why. I mean, maybe it's not. Maybe it had nothing to do with the actor. Maybe it was just a storytelling decision that they thought it would be better. And to be fair, I think his death was way more powerful, way more intense here than it was in the books, but that's just my opinion. So I do think it works better. But yeah, I kind of saw this coming. At least I thought, maybe that they would push his death up forward, and apparently that's exactly what they did. So, goddamn. I mean, again, the scene, especially that weird mechanical spider thing, it was so fucking scary. Like, all these scenes were, like, so intense, absolutely amazing. And so now, they seem pretty fucked indeed that they took off with the protomolecule sample. And Taiko is in chaos. And by the way, while all this is happening, apparently, like, there's Belters trying to freaking destroy the station with the reactor, and that's why all the security forces were dealing with that. That's why they couldn't help Holden, but apparently they did manage to stop that from happening. But goddamn, they are in very poor shape. Very poor shape. So, then we see Naomi is taken to Marco, and she's very defiant. It's like, oh, why you bring me here? And he points out, like, it wasn't me. It was actually Philip's idea. I guess the boy needs his mother. You see how he's like a little condescending to Philip too in that moment? He's like, oh, he's still a little boy. He needs his mommy. So there was a little thing. You see that Philip wasn't completely pleased about that being treated that way, which he shouldn't be. But so that was kind of an interesting dynamic there. But Marco then does praise Philip for the role he had in killing millions of people on Earth, and saying it has a big victory for the belt. And then the scene where he has Naomi dragged to her quarters and locked away, and she's like screaming, open the fucking door, and she's like screaming out of frustration after realizing what Philip and Marco just did, and that she's now being like held captive in the way Marco Amos is like, welcome home. Like, that's intense. That was amazing acting on Dominic Tipper's part, by the way, and you really felt the hopelessness, and it's a side of Naomi that we don't really see that much, because usually she's on top of shit, and so to see her being so hopeless was so intense. And then we see Marco give his big speech, where he takes credits, as all good terrorists would, for a terrorist attack, which of course he doesn't see it that way. He sees it as justified retribution for years, decades of atrocities committed by the inner planets on the belt. Despite the fact that they were actually working to move beyond that the three entities had acquired a truce and moved beyond those atrocities, but that didn't interest him. And to be fair, as we saw in season 4, the UN were still sort of treating the Belters as, they still weren't being completely kind to them, and were still treating them as being very condescending, still being as they're inferiors, and that they're still the superior or whatever, and the belt was still negotiating from a position of weakness. But this isn't necessarily the right way to go about it. So, and we see, by the way, that Marco is commanding a Martian warship, no doubt having purchased that from the black market, and he also says it's one of many, and so he makes an ultimatum to Earth and Mars, saying that you do have the right to exist, but your sovereignty ends at your atmospheres. Basically, he's like taken over the solar system, or the outer beyond Mars's orbit, which, and as we know, Mars was severely weakened by the ring gates opening, and most of the population is going through the colonies, which is why all this military grade equipment is available on the block market. So Mars is less equipped to deal with this strife, and with Earth just getting plummeted by those asteroids, as I mentioned, that's a huge fucking deal. They're in a weakened position to deal with this. So basically, Marco just took control of the solar system. Now, which is something, as he talked about before, is something that the Belters only dreamed of. They never thought could happen. But part of how this was able to happen was because of the fall of Mars, because of the ring gates opening, which allowed all this military grade technology that, of course, Martian military technology is even superior to the UN technology. And now it's in the hands of Belter extremist terrorists. And he basically, say what you want about Marco, but he's apparently a good strategic commander and was able to plan this out to grab power of the solar system. And that fucking speech he gave, especially, I love how they showed the various characters watching this. They showed Bobby and Alex on the Razorback watching this. They showed Sorella and Delgado on Luna watching this. They showed Holden and Bull and Monica Stewart on Taiko watching this. Has he basically declared victory and warned and said, oh yeah, by the way, I got the protomolecule, so if you try to stop us, well, I might just infect Earth with the protomolecule, or Mars. Now, talk about a threat. That is a fucking threat. And I'm sure Holden was thrilled about that threat. So yeah, I would say he quite successfully grabbed power, which was goddamn super intense, absolutely ominous. Like this, I know this is a cliche that gets thrown around a lot, and I'm very loath to use it, but I think it's the best way to describe this episode is the Empire Strikes Back of the Expanse. Like, this is, I mean, all the characters are at their lowest. Naomi is at the lowest we've ever seen. Holden just got his ass kicked and just lost Fred Johnson. Fucking Amos is trapped underground where a fucking asteroid fell on top of him. And Alex and Bobby are in a tiny little dinky racing ship with no defenses, chasing after a couple military ships. And of course, like, Earth just had several extinction events happen. So yeah, everyone's at their pretty fucking lowest. Super dark, super ominous, super intense, absolutely amazing. So my rating for Gaugamela out of 10 is a 10, the best. Absolutely brilliant episode from start to finish. The character stories, even the dialogue scenes were intense and really added to the characters, added to the story, but the episode itself did not let up. It was absolutely relentless, and its suspense and its power, and it's just really spelled out how fucked everyone is. So anyway, that's it for my review of The Expanse Season 5, Episode 4. I shall be back to cover Episode 5 next week, but in the meantime, I shall return this Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. West Coast Time, for a live discussion where I'll further analyze this episode with special guests. Joining me, as always, Darren from D's Reviews. And this week, Don Willie will be joining as we talk about this episode and, get more into this episode. So you can join us live for that, or If you can't make it live, you can join us afterwards in the archives. There'll be a link to that video in the description below. So be sure to check that out. Also check out my channel as I cover many other shows like Discovery, Star Trek, Breaking Bad, The Outer Limits, and more. So be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that. And thanks a lot for watching.